Well, I wanted. I am myself. I am the target of I was the target of an assassination attempt, and I was very badly wounded when I was in Turkey for a humanitarian action. To help some Iranian refugees.
Someone tried to kill you?
Yes, they tried to kill me. I was shot, in the chest and also in the abdomen, and I was very lucky because I went through 14 major surgeries. And all these extraterritorial killings are directed by the Quds Force, and Qasem Soleimani was the head of Quds Force for 22 years. The Iranian regime under Soleimani, as its the commander of its Quds Force, has been responsible for more than 450 major terrorist operations throughout the world.
But Hossein, are you saying, just so I got this absolutely right, you're saying that you were, someone tried to assassinate you from the Al-Quds Force?
They actually ambushed my car. My car was sandwiched, and I was shot, several times. I was in a very, very serious situation. I was in a near coma condition for more than 45 days, and I had to go through many, surgeries to survive.
And it was the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps.
It was the IRGC, and Quds Force, which is known as the fifth force of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, has been is responsible for all the terrorist operations outside Iran. It's the extraterritorial arm of the IRGC for all its extraterritorial killings. And this, some of the unfortunate listeners and callers are not familiar, with the Iranian, this brutal, murderous regime. Unfortunately, this inaction and indecisiveness by the EU and some countries has emboldened the mullah's regime to a degree that Qasem Soleimani has been, traveling to all the Middle East countries. And this man is responsible for hundreds of thousands of killings of Syrian children and women and innocent Iraqis, and 120,000 people who have been executed in Iran. And the IRGC has been the main responsible for that, as one of your callers just...
saying you were very nearly another victim of Soleimani yourself.
Yes, I was. I have lost many of my colleagues, my friends.
And can I ask you? And look, tell me to get stuffed if you don't want to answer this because it's too difficult or whatever. I completely understand.
No, please.
Can I ask what actually happened? Where were you? What were you doing? And describe what happened to you when guys got out the car and started shooting through your window.
Yes. Well, actually, I went to Istanbul. I went there in coordination with the United Nations office and Amnesty International. I went there to help some Iranian refugees when my car was ambushed in the broad daylight. And the Iranian embassy, the so-called Iranian diplomats who were actually terrorists, they attacked my car. It was 4 p.m. In the broad daylight. And, there were a number of terrorists in the front car and a number of them at the rear car. And they started shooting on me. I just tried, to somehow to stop them with my briefcase. But they started shooting. I was shot, in the chest and in the abdomen. And then they wanted to fire a final shot, a coup de grace. The bullet just jammed in the muzzle of the gun, and I was taken by... And then they thought, it's all over because I was bleeding very badly. And the traffic has started to run again. It was in Istanbul, near Yeşilköy, in Istanbul. And then I was taken to International Hospital of Istanbul. I stayed there for more than 45 days, but I was in a near coma condition. And since then, I have been suffering from lots of, injuries. And this regime, this is a brutal regime which considers any soft line approach as a sign of weakness and as a green light that they can continue with their murderous policies inside and outside of Iran. As one of your callers, just said, this regime has been responsible for more than 1,500 Iranian protesters, defenseless protesters who were killed brutally in cold blood, by the IRGC.
And you had no idea, Hossein, that this was that there was an assassination attempt going to be made on you doing the work that you were doing in Turkey. It just completely came out of the blue.
Well, it actually, no, I didn't know anything, and but these people, this regime is after whoever is trying, to stand up to its brutal killings. This Qasem Soleimani, and I am absolutely, it was revolting to listen to Emily Thornberry and the tweets made, by Jeremy Corbyn. They didn't say a word about, the Iranian protests and 1,500 people who were killed in the streets of Iran, many of them from working class people. And these people claim, to be the Labour Party, but they have been crying, for Qasem Soleimani, a murderer, a mass murderer, who has been responsible, for Soleimani and the regime and the IRGC for 120,000 Iranians who have been executed by this brutal regime, and they have been responsible for hundreds of thousands of killings in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, in all over the place.
Well, look, Hossein, I don't know, to be honest, as you know, having listened to the programme for a while tonight, there have been plenty of people come on who are trying to explain away some of the things that this man is accused of doing. I don't know how you can argue with somebody who comes on the radio, is Iranian, was an assassination target of the IRGC, and gives a detailed description of what this man was up to and the numbers of people who he's killed. I don't know how you can answer again. That Hossein tonight has come on to explain exactly what happened to him in huge, disturbing amounts of detail, frankly. And I don't know if people are still listening who have been on the radio tonight trying to argue that actually this guy was just a general in an army, and what on earth was going on in America's actions against him. You need to listen to Hossein.